Oh boy, buckle up, because this story is a wild ride. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up. You won't want to miss how this incredible tale of lost love and unexpected fatherhood unfolds. And don't forget to drop a comment below, sharing your thoughts as we go. The airport encounter that rocked his world, Hook. Imagine this. You're walking through a bustling airport, minding your own business, when suddenly, a face from your past appears. Not just any face, but the face. The one that still haunts your dreams. And in her arms, a baby. A baby with eyes so eerily familiar, they punch you in the gut. This isn't a movie, folks. This is what happened to Alex. Is that your baby? Alex blurted out, his voice thick with disbelief. Chloe clutched the tiny bundle tighter, her gaze turning to ice. That's none of your business, she shot back, her words a bitter sting. We're over, Alex. It ended a long time ago. The chaos of London Heathrow faded into a muffled hum. All that existed was him, Chloe, and that baby with striking sapphire eyes, eyes that mirrored his. Chloe, please, I just want to talk, Alex pleaded, taking a hesitant step forward. There's nothing to talk about. Goodbye. Alex Miller, 35, had closed multi-million-dollar deals without breaking a sweat. But watching Chloe Green disappear into the surging crowd, a baby cradled in her arms, he felt the ground crumble beneath him. He'd just returned to London from sealing a massive contract in Tokyo. His sustainable tech company, Eco Bloom Solutions, was booming. Yet his personal life had been a barren wasteland since Chloe walked out a year, 2 months, and 18 days ago. As he grabbed his luggage, his mind replayed that last night together. The harsh words, the screaming, the tears. I'm not ready for a family, he'd said. Or at least, that's what she'd heard. The taxi ride to his penthouse in Canary Wharf was a blur. The baby. How old was it? 6, maybe 7 months? Dates swirled in his head like a deranged roulette wheel. The moment he stepped into his apartment, his phone buzzed. It was his mother, Eleanor. Son, are you home? How was your trip? Fine, Mom, he mumbled, dropping his suitcase. Everything's fine. You sound off, Alex. What happened? Alex hesitated. His mother always had a sixth sense. I saw Chloe at the airport. The silence on the other end was deafening. Was she with the baby? Eleanor finally asked. Alex's heart pounded. You knew she had a child? I saw her a few months ago at Dr. Davies' clinic. She was taking a baby for a checkup. She didn't see me, but I... Eleanor paused. Son, that child has your eyes, just like your grandfather, Arthur. Alex sank onto the sofa, feeling his world shift on its axis. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to cause you pain if I was wrong. After hanging up, Alex spent a sleepless night, poring over old childhood photos. The same blue eyes he'd seen today, staring back at him from Chloe's arms, uncovering the truth. The next morning, determined but with dark circles under his eyes, he called Sarah Jones, Chloe's best friend and a renowned pediatrician. Alex, what a surprise. Sarah's voice was cautious. How can I help you? I need you to be honest with me. Chloe's child. Is he mine? I can't discuss my patients, you know that. Sarah, please, I have a right to know if I have a son. A long sigh preceded her answer. It's not my place to tell you. Talk to Chloe. I tried yesterday. She wouldn't listen. Give her time. She's been through a lot, alone. The word alone pierced his chest like a dagger. Chloe had faced pregnancy and raising a baby completely alone while he expanded his business empire across Asia. His next call was to Mark Davies, his lawyer and friend from university. What are my rights if it turns out I have a child I didn't know about? Mark listened patiently as Alex recounted the airport encounter. Legally, you could request a paternity test, and if positive, claim your parental rights. But Alex, I'd recommend trying to resolve this amicably first. Custody battles are tough for everyone, especially the child. Alex thanked him and decided he needed to see Chloe's father. Mr. Peter Green had always treated him like a son. That afternoon, he showed up at the Green family home in Hampstead. The garden was as immaculate as he remembered. Mr. Green opened the door, his expression shifting from surprise to recognition, and finally, to a mix of sadness and resignation. "Alex," the older man said, "I suppose this day had to come. Mr. Green, I need to know the truth. Am I Chloe's son's father?" The old man invited him in. In the living room, above the fireplace, was a recent photo. Chloe holding the baby, both smiling at the camera. "Chloe found out she was pregnant 3 weeks after your breakup," Mr. Green finally confessed. "She decided not to tell you because she was convinced your career was more important to you than starting a family." Mr. Green's words confirmed his suspicions, but instead of relief, Alex felt an abyss opening before him. He had a son he didn't know, who didn't know him, and whose existence had been hidden from him. "His name is Leo," Mr. Green added, as if reading his thoughts. "Leo Alexander Green." The name echoed in Alex's mind endlessly. Leo Alexander. She had given him his name, despite everything. "Why, Mr. Green? Why didn't she tell me?" Alex asked, his voice breaking. The old man sighed deeply before answering. "The last conversation you had, Chloe heard you say a child would ruin your plans, that you weren't ready to be a father." Alex shook his head, frustrated. "That's not what I said. I told her I wanted to be prepared, that I was afraid of being like my father, who abandoned us. I wanted to offer stability, not reject the idea of a family." Mr. Green placed a hand on his shoulder. "Misunderstandings sometimes cause more damage than lies, son. What do you think was the biggest misunderstanding here? Share your thoughts in the comments." A mother's struggle and a father's resolve, meanwhile, in a small but bright architectural studio in Shoreditch, Chloe worked on plans for an eco-friendly house while Leo slept in his carrier. Her phone buzzed, interrupting her concentration. "How are you?" asked the voice of Emily, her younger sister. "Good, but busy," Chloe replied, not stopping her drafting. "You saw him, didn't you? Dad told me Alex is back." Chloe put her pencil down. "I ran into him at the airport. It wasn't pleasant. And no, I didn't tell him about Leo. I'm not going to." Emily was silent for a moment. "Chloe, you know I support you in everything, but he has a right to know. And Leo has a right to know his father." "Right?" Chloe's voice rose. "After he told me a child would ruin his plans? After he chose his precious company over us? Are you sure that's exactly what he said?" The question hung in the air as Leo began to stir. Chloe ended the call, promising to talk later. The next day, Alex showed up at the pediatric clinic where Sarah worked. He waited patiently until her shift ended. "You're crossing a line, Alex," Sarah said, seeing him in the empty waiting room. "I need answers, Sarah. I've spoken to Mr. Green. I know Leo is my son." Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, as if weighing her options. "I can't violate medical confidentiality, but as a friend," she paused. "Leo was born on October 20th. It was a difficult birth. Chloe was alone, except for Emily and her father." "My God," Alex murmured. "Why didn't she contact me?" "Are you serious? You were in Singapore closing the deal of your life, according to all the business magazines." Sarah's words were a punch to the gut. While he celebrated his professional success, Chloe faced the birth of their son in solitude. "What's he like?" Alex asked, with a vulnerability that surprised Sarah. "He's an incredible boy. He has your eyes, your smile. He's calm, observant. And Chloe is an extraordinary mother, despite how difficult it's been." Alex nodded, trying to imagine his son. trying to make up for lost months with scraps of information. "What do you plan to do?" Sarah asked. "Talk to her. Make her understand that I want to be a part of Leo's life, that I have a right to be." "Be careful how you approach her, Alex. Chloe built a wall around herself since she found out about the pregnancy. It won't be easy to tear it down." That same afternoon, Alex contacted Mark again. He told him about his conversation with Mr. Green and asked for legal advice. "You could request a paternity test and demand visitation rights," Mark explained. "But I'd recommend trying a less aggressive approach first." "I don't want to take anything away from Chloe," Alex clarified. "I just want to know my son, to be a part of his life. Then show her. Actions speak louder than legal threats." Alex reflected on these words as he drove back to his apartment. On the way, he passed a baby store. Without a second thought, he parked and went in. An hour later, he emerged with bags full of clothes, toys, and books for Leo. He didn't know when he could give them to him, but he needed to do something, anything, that would bring him closer to the reality of being a father. Meanwhile, Chloe was having dinner with Emily in her small apartment. Leo was already asleep in his crib. "Alex went to see Dad," Emily commented, watching her sister's reaction. Chloe put her fork down. "What did he say?" "The truth, that Leo is his son." "He had no right," Chloe murmured. "Chloe, this was going to happen eventually. London isn't that big. You could have moved to Manchester, to Edinburgh, and run your whole life." "What would you tell Leo when he asked about his father?" Chloe didn't answer immediately. She'd had this conversation 1,000 times in her head. "I'd tell him the truth, that his father chose his career over his family. Are you sure that's fair, or even true?" That night, after Emily left, Chloe pulled out a box she kept under her bed. Inside were magazine clippings with news about Alex and his successful company. The visionary behind EcoBloom. Alex Miller revolutionizes sustainable tech in the UK. Images of him at galas, at conferences, always impeccable, always smiling. There was also an ultrasound, Leo's first, which she had never had the courage to share with him, and a letter she had written but never sent, telling him about the pregnancy. The sound of her phone startled her. A message from a number she knew by heart, though she had deleted it months ago. "Chloe, I know the truth about Leo. I'm not looking for a confrontation. I just want to know my son. Please, let's talk." "Alex." With trembling hands, Chloe turned off her phone without replying. She knew this conversation was inevitable, but she wasn't ready. Not yet. What she didn't know was that Alex had already made a decision. Tomorrow, he would go to her studio. He couldn't wait any longer to face the truth face to face. A confrontation and a crisis. The morning dawned gray over London. Alex arrived early at the small building where Chloe had her architectural studio. He waited in his car, mentally rehearsing what he would say, how he would keep calm when his whole being was a whirlwind of emotions. At 9 o'clock, he saw Chloe arrive. She didn't have Leo with her. For a moment, he felt disappointment, but then he understood it was better this way. This conversation would be difficult. He waited 10 more minutes before entering the building. He went up the stairs to the 3rd floor and stopped in front of the door with a discreet sign. CG Sustainable Architecture. He took a deep breath and knocked. Chloe opened the door and froze when she saw him. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk," Alex replied firmly. "And this time, I won't take no for an answer." After a moment of hesitation, Chloe stepped aside to let him in. The studio was small but bright, with project models and blueprints covering almost every surface. "You have 5 minutes," she said, crossing her arms. Alex looked her directly in the eyes and asked what he had come to ask. "Is he my son?" Silence stretched between them like an abyss. The seconds felt like hours as Alex waited, holding his breath. Finally, Chloe nodded slowly. Yes, Leo is your son, but we don't need your money or your pity. The confirmation, though expected, hit him hard. He was a father. He had a flesh and blood son, not just a suspicion or a possibility. It's not about money, Chloe, he replied, trying to control the tremor in his voice. It's about my right to know my son, and his right to have a father. Now you talk about rights? Chloe let out a bitter laugh. Where were those rights when you told me a child would ruin your plans? I never said that. Alex took a step towards her. I said I wanted to wait, to be prepared. I was afraid of failing as a father, like mine failed. Your exact words were, a child now would destroy everything I've built, Chloe retorted, her eyes shining with unshed tears. No, what I said was that I needed to consolidate the company, to offer you stability, to not have to travel constantly and be absent. Alex ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Chloe, I grew up with a father who was never there, who prioritized his work over his family until he finally abandoned us. My greatest fear has always been to repeat that pattern. Chloe looked at him with distrust, but something in her eyes had changed. A crack in the wall. You've had 6 months to get to know your son, Chloe. 6 months that no one will give me back, Alex continued. His first smile, his first words, moments I lost because you decided for me, for us. You were in Tokyo when he was born, she replied in a softer voice. And then in Singapore, and then in Dubai. Far away, always far away, because I didn't know I had a reason to stay. Chloe's phone rang, interrupting the moment. Her expression changed instantly when she saw the screen. What's wrong, Emily? She answered urgently. Alex watched as the color drained from Chloe's face as she listened to her sister. I'm coming, she finally said, ending the call. I have to go. Leo is sick. He has a high fever. Without thinking, Alex grabbed his keys. I'll take you. My car is downstairs, and we'll get there faster. Chloe hesitated for only a second before nodding, grabbing her bag and quickly closing the studio. A fright and a first hold. The drive to Chloe's apartment was tense and silent. Alex drove, focused, casting occasional worried glances at her. When they arrived, Emily was waiting at the building entrance with a visibly feverish Leo in her arms. The little one had red cheeks and was breathing rapidly. The fever won't go down, Emily explained, distressed. I already gave him the medicine Sarah recommended, but he's still really hot. Alex instinctively stepped closer and, to everyone's surprise, including his own, extended his arms towards the baby. Let me see him, he asked. Emily looked at Chloe, who, after a moment of doubt, nodded slightly. Emily handed Leo to Alex, who held him with surprising naturalness. It was the first time he had held his son. Despite the situation, he couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion. Leo looked at him with fever-glazed eyes, those blue eyes identical to his own. We need to take him to the hospital, Alex decided. This fever is too high. Chloe didn't argue. The four of them got into Alex's car and headed to the nearest children's hospital. In the emergency room, while waiting for test results, Alex and Chloe sat next to each other, both staring at Leo, who was finally asleep after receiving intravenous medication. He has an ear infection, the doctor explained when he returned. He'll need antibiotics, but he'll be fine. The fever should go down in the next few hours. The relief was visible on both of them. When the doctor left, they were alone again, with Leo sleeping between them. He's just like you, Chloe murmured, breaking the silence. Everyone says it since he was born. Alex observed his son's face, trying to recognize himself in those small features. He has your nose, he finally said with a half-smile. And your stubbornness, probably. Chloe couldn't help but smile slightly. That's from both of us. After a moment of silence, Alex spoke again, this time in a serious tone. The day we broke up, I didn't say I didn't want kids, Chloe. I said I wanted to be prepared to be a better father than mine. My biggest fear was always failing my family." He paused, swallowing. "But if you had known, if you had given me the chance to know, I would have been there, Chloe. For every ultrasound, every kick, the birth, for everything." Chloe looked at him, really looked at him for the first time since their reunion. "I saw you in the news, always traveling, always succeeding," she murmured. "I thought I had done the right thing by not tying you down to us." "It wouldn't have been tying me down, Chloe. It would have been freeing me." Leo stirred in his sleep, and both instinctively reached out their hands to soothe him. Their fingers brushed over the baby's small forehead, and for a moment neither pulled away. What do you think was the turning point in Chloe's heart? Let me know your theories in the comments. Rebuilding bridges. The following days were a whirlwind of changes. After the hospital scare, Chloe reluctantly agreed to Alex visiting Leo. At first, she insisted that visits be supervised and in her apartment. 3 times a week, 2 hours each time, she had proposed, like someone negotiating a contract. 5 times, 3 hours, Alex counteroffered. They ended up agreeing on 4 weekly visits of 2.5 hours, a compromise that neither found ideal, but both could accept. The first official visit was on a Tuesday afternoon. Alex arrived punctually, with a teddy bear almost as big as Leo. "Seriously?" Chloe asked, opening the door. "Couldn't you start with something smaller?" Alex shrugged, smiling. "I have 6 months to make up for." Leo, fully recovered from his infection, watched this stranger from his mother's arms, with curiosity, but no fear. When Alex offered him the bear, the baby immediately took it, fascinated by its softness. "He likes it," Alex said, with a note of pride in his voice. Chloe rolled her eyes, but couldn't help a small smile. "At this age, he likes everything he can bite." The first visits were awkward. Chloe always remained in the same room, watchful, while Alex awkwardly tried to connect with his son. He changed diapers with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb, prepared bottles following instructions to the letter, and read children's stories with exaggerated voices that made Leo laugh. One afternoon, while Alex played with Leo on the carpet, Chloe watched him from the sofa. The baby had recently started crawling and moved with surprising speed. "He's very agile for his age," Alex commented. "Sarah says he might start walking soon," Chloe replied. "He's very advanced for everything." "Like his mother," Alex said, and for the first time since they had reconnected, the comment didn't sound forced or calculated. It was simply a sincere observation. Chloe looked at him, surprised, and for a moment, she saw the man she had fallen in love with years ago. As the weeks passed, Alex completely reorganized his professional life. He delegated trips to his team, scheduled video conferences instead of in-person meetings, and blocked out his visits as unmovable commitments. Mark, his lawyer, noticed it during a meeting. "I've never seen you rush out of the office at 5 o'clock, he commented curiously. "It's my time with Leo," Alex explained simply. "I wouldn't miss it for anything." "Has he changed you?" Mark observed. "For the better, I think." Alex nodded. Leo had changed him, or perhaps he had awakened a part of him that had always been there, waiting. A month after their reunion, Alex adapted one of the rooms in his penthouse for Leo. He filled it with educational toys, books, and a crib he helped assemble himself, to the surprise of his personal assistant. "I want to ask you something," he told Chloe during one of his visits. "I'd like to take Leo to my apartment sometime, so he can see his room." Chloe tightened her jaw. "I'm not sure, Alex. He's still very small." "You can come too, of course," he quickly added. "I'm not trying to separate you. I just want him to get to know that space, which is also his." After several days of considering it, Chloe finally accepted. The first visit to Alex's apartment was on a Saturday. Chloe was impressed by the room he had prepared for Leo, though she tried not to show it. "You've thought of everything," she admitted, running her hand over the smooth wood of the eco-friendly crib. "I want to do it right," he replied, while Leo enthusiastically explored his new toys, new beginnings, and a home designed for love. During the following weeks, the tension between them gradually began to decrease. Conversations were no longer strictly limited to Leo. Occasionally, they talked about work, mutual friends, even movies or books. One day, Chloe arrived to pick up Leo from Alex's apartment and found him asleep in his arms while he read him a story. "I didn't want to wake him up," Alex whispered. "He fell asleep during the part where the elephant finds his family." Chloe watched the scene. Her son, perfectly comfortable and safe in his father's arms, and Alex, holding Leo as if he were the most precious thing in the world. Something stirred within her, an emotion she had tried to keep buried. "Would you like a coffee while we wait for him to wake up?" Alex offered. Chloe nodded, and for the first time, they sat together on the penthouse terrace with the London skyline at their feet, and simply talked, like two people sharing something important, not like adversaries. As Leo's first birthday approached, the inevitable question of how to celebrate it arose. "I was thinking of doing something small at my apartment," Chloe commented. "Just close family." Alex nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. "Of course I understand. I can visit him the next day." Chloe studied him for a moment before adding, "But I suppose you're family now too. If you want to come." Alex's smile lit up his face. "I'd love to." "Thank you." The birthday arrived. Chloe's small apartment was decorated with balloons and streamers. Mr. Green, Emily, Sarah, and a few close friends filled the space. Eleanor, Alex's mother, had also been invited, to the surprise of many. When Leo saw Alex enter with a brightly wrapped package, he quickly crawled towards him, extending his little arms to be picked up. "Papa!" the little one exclaimed, speaking his first clear word directed at Alex. The room fell silent. Alex felt something break and rebuild simultaneously within him. With trembling hands, he picked up his son. "Yes, Leo," he murmured, his voice hoarse. "I'm Papa." When he looked at Chloe, he saw tears in her eyes. They weren't tears of resentment or sadness. They were tears of recognition, of acceptance. That night, as he helped Chloe clean up after everyone had left, Alex finally had the courage to ask what he had been thinking for weeks. "Why did you give him my name as a middle name?" Chloe stopped what she was doing and looked at him directly. "Because I never wanted him to forget where he came from," she replied sincerely. "Despite everything, I always wanted him to know who his father was." In that moment, with Leo sleeping peacefully in his crib, surrounded by his first birthday gifts, Alex knew they were taking the first steps towards something he never thought possible, being a family, whatever form it took. A new partnership, a deeper bond. 3 months after Leo's first birthday, Chloe received an unexpected call from Alex. "I have a proposal for you," he said without preamble. "Professional, I mean." "I'm listening," she replied, intrigued. "EcoBloom is planning to build a new headquarters. I want it to be a completely sustainable building, a model for the future. And I want you to design it." Chloe almost dropped the phone. "Are you kidding? That's a huge project, Alex. There are much larger architectural firms than mine who would kill for that opportunity." "None have your vision or your commitment to sustainability," he replied. "Besides, I've seen your work. You're brilliant, Chloe." She was silent, processing the offer. "I don't need an answer now," Alex continued. "Think about it. The project is yours if you want it." That night, while Leo slept, Chloe reviewed EcoBloom's project portfolio. The new headquarters would be the company's most ambitious project to date, a complex of offices, laboratories, and community spaces that aimed to redefine corporate architecture in the UK. The next morning, she called Alex. "I accept, but with one condition, which is, we'll work on the project together. You understand your company's vision better than anyone, and I can translate it into functional and sustainable spaces. It will be a collaboration." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "That sounds perfect," Alex finally replied, and Chloe could hear the smile in his voice. They set up a joint workspace in a small studio Alex rented near EcoBloom's offices. 2 days a week, they met there to work on the project, sometimes with Leo playing in a safe area they had set up for him. The first sessions were strictly professional. They discussed materials, energy efficiency, biophilic design. But gradually, the conversations began to extend beyond the project. "Remember that trip to Cornwall?" Alex asked one afternoon while reviewing local stone samples. "We stayed at that inn with thatched roofs and inner courtyards." Chloe smiled at the memory. "The owner made us hot chocolate every morning. That vernacular architecture had a lot to teach us about natural ventilation and light harvesting." "You were always observant," Chloe commented. "I liked that about you." The comment hung between them like an unexpected confession. As the project progressed, so did their relationship. It wasn't a return to what they had been before. It was something new, built on a different foundation. They shared Leo's upbringing more fluidly, consulting on decisions, supporting each other. One Saturday, while watching Leo take his first wobbly steps in the park, Alex made a proposal. "I've been thinking," he began with some caution. "What do you think about us designing a house too?" "A house?" Chloe asked, confused. "For whom?" "For Leo," Alex replied. "A place where he can grow with space, nature, close to the city, but not in the middle of the chaos. A home that incorporates everything we both value." Chloe looked at him in surprise. "Are you suggesting we live together?" "I'm suggesting we design a home for our son," Alex clarified. "How we inhabit it is something we can decide later." The idea was bold, but it made sense. Leo would soon need more space. Chloe's apartment was small, and although Alex's penthouse was large, it was in too urban an area for a child to grow freely. "It would have to be on the outskirts," Chloe finally said, implicitly accepting the proposal. "Maybe towards Surrey or Kent," Alex smiled, understanding that she was seriously considering the idea. "We could look for land this weekend, if you want." A home built on love. They found the perfect place a month later, 3 acres in the hills overlooking the valley, less than an hour from the city. The land had ancient trees, a small stream, and enough space to create something truly special. Working on the house plans became a kind of therapy for both of them. Every space reflected their shared values. Large windows for natural light, local materials, water harvesting systems, solar energy. "Leo's room should face east," Chloe suggested one night as they worked in the studio. "So the morning sun wakes him gently, and he'll need a space to play outside," Alex added, "with trees to climb when he's older." "How many bedrooms are we planning exactly?" Chloe asked, noticing that the design included 5 bedrooms. Alex hesitated before answering. "I thought, maybe Leo could have siblings someday." Chloe looked at him fixedly, surprised by the implication. "Alex, I'm not assuming anything," she quickly clarified. "Just thinking about future possibilities, whatever form our family takes." That night, after finishing the design modifications, Alex accompanied Chloe and Leo to their apartment. The little one had fallen asleep in the car. "I'll help you take him up," Alex offered. In the quiet intimacy of the apartment, with Leo already tucked into his crib, they paused in the living room. There was a different tension between them, an unexpressed expectation. "This house project," Chloe began. What are we really doing, Alex? He took a breath before answering. I think we're rebuilding something we should never have lost. They looked at each other in silence. Years of shared history, pain, and now hope, concentrated in that exchange of glances. Alex took a step towards her, and for the first time since their reunion, took her hand. I never stopped loving you, he confessed, his voice barely a whisper, but I understand if it's different for you now. Chloe felt something crumble inside her, a last barrier of protection. I was so afraid you'd eventually abandon us that I decided to be the one to end everything, she admitted, her voice breaking. It was easier to walk away than to wait for you to do it. Alex put a hand to her face, gently caressing her cheek. I'm not going anywhere, Chloe. The kiss that followed was like coming home after a long journey, familiar and new at the same time, loaded with promises and possibilities. The ultimate choice. The house construction began in the spring. Chloe supervised the work. While she continued working on the EcoBloom headquarters project, Alex divided his time between the company, Leo, and frequent visits to the site. One afternoon, while reviewing the progress of the foundations, Alex received a call that would change everything. An expansion offer to Europe? Chloe asked that night when Alex told her about the call. It's what you've always wanted. Alex nodded, thoughtful. It's a unique opportunity. 3 new headquarters, Madrid, Berlin, and Paris. Chloe felt a familiar chill settle in her chest. History seemed to be repeating itself. When would you leave? She asked, trying to maintain her composure. I'd have to spend at least 6 months there to establish operations, Alex replied, watching Chloe's face darken. If I decide to accept? Yes. Chloe looked at him in surprise. Alex, it's your dream. Of course you should accept. My dream has changed, Chloe, he replied simply. Or perhaps I finally understood what my true dream was. The following days were tense. Despite Alex's words, Chloe couldn't shake the feeling that history would repeat itself. Every time she saw him checking emails on his phone or speaking English on the phone, she felt like she was losing him again. One afternoon, while Leo played in Mr. Green's garden, Chloe confessed her fears to Emily. He's going to accept the offer, I know it, she said, watching her son try to catch a butterfly. And we'll be back to square one. Has he told you that? Emily asked. He doesn't need to. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Emily looked at her sister, exasperated. Haven't you learned anything from all this? Last time, you assumed what he thought instead of asking him directly, and look where that got you. Emily's words resonated with Chloe. She was right. She was making the same mistake. That night, after putting Leo to bed, she decided to confront him. Alex had come for dinner, and now both were sitting on the small balcony of the apartment. I need to know what you're going to do about the Europe offer, Chloe said bluntly. Not for me, but for Leo. He needs stability. Alex looked at her seriously. I've been considering all options, he replied. There's a lot at stake. I understand, Chloe said, bracing herself for the worst. If you decide to go, we can set up a schedule for visits and video calls so Leo doesn't lose contact with you. Alex frowned. What are you talking about? I'm not considering leaving, Chloe. I'm considering how to restructure my company so I don't have to. Chloe looked at him, confused. But you said you'd have to spend 6 months there. If I followed the traditional expansion plan, yes, Alex explained. But I've been working with my team on a different structure. We would hire local directors for each European office, and I would oversee from here, with short trips when absolutely necessary. You'd do that? Chloe asked, surprised. You'd give up being at the forefront of the expansion? Alex took her hands in his. I'm not giving up anything, Chloe. I'm choosing what really matters. My company will continue to grow, but not at the expense of my family. Not again. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this heartwarming tale, what do you think about Alex's decision? Is he making the right choice? Let me know in the comments below. The promise of forever. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Alex announced his restructuring plan, surprising the board, but finally gaining their approval. Meanwhile, the house construction progressed rapidly. The walls were already up, and the roof would be completed soon. One afternoon, while supervising the installation of the solar panels, Alex led Chloe to a high point on the land, from which they could see the entire property. "What do you think?" he asked, hugging her from behind as they contemplated their future home. "It's perfect," she replied, leaning against his chest. "Better than I imagined." "There's something I've wanted to ask you," Alex said, suddenly serious. "You and Leo will move here when it's finished." Chloe turned to look at him. "I thought that was the idea, wasn't it?" "Yes, but..." Alex paused. "I don't want to assume anything. I want it to be your decision, completely yours." Chloe studied his face, understanding what he wasn't explicitly saying. "You're asking me if I want us to live together, as a family?" "Yes," Alex simply replied. "That's exactly what I'm asking." Chloe smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "I think you already know the answer." 3 months later, the house was almost finished. They had decided to have a small housewarming party, inviting close family and friends. It would also be the official presentation of their reconciliation, although for many, it was already evident what was happening between them. The inauguration day dawned sunny and perfect. The house gleamed under the sunlight, local stone walls combined with large windows, green roofs covered with vegetation, and a central courtyard with an ancient oak tree they had preserved during construction. Guests began to arrive at noon. Mr. Green and Eleanor, the proud grandparents, were the first. Emily and Mark arrived together, to the surprise of few. Sarah came with her husband and twins, perfect playmates for Leo, who excitedly ran around showing his house to anyone who wanted to see it. Alex had prepared a small speech to welcome everyone, but as he watched his loved ones gathered in the home they had created, he felt he needed to do something more meaningful. After everyone had toured the house and gathered in the central courtyard for lunch, Alex asked for their attention. "First, I want to thank you all for sharing this day with us," he began. "This house represents much more than a place to live. It is the symbol of a second chance, of a rebuilt family." He looked at Chloe, who held Leo in her arms, both smiling at him. "A year and a half ago, I was at the airport, believing my life was complete because my business was doing well. I had no idea what I was really missing." Alex approached Chloe and took her free hand. "I once lost what was most important by not knowing how to communicate what I really wanted. I won't make the same mistake twice." To everyone's surprised gaze, he knelt and pulled a small box from his pocket. "Chloe Green, I want to build my life with you and with Leo here, in the house we designed together. Will you do me the honor of marrying me?" Chloe, with tears in her eyes, nodded as the guests applauded emotionally. "Yes," she finally replied. "Yes, I will." Alex placed the ring on her finger and stood up to kiss her, while Leo clapped, not fully understanding what was happening, but infected by the joy of the moment. When the kiss ended, Chloe whispered something in Alex's ear. "I also have something to tell you," she murmured, taking his hand and placing it on her belly. "Our family will continue to grow." Alex's eyes widened with surprise and emotion. This time, he would be there, for every moment, from the very beginning. The celebration continued until sunset. As the last rays of sun illuminated their new home, Alex held Leo in his arms, watching Chloe's radiant face. The teddy bear he had given him on their first visit was still Leo's favorite, despite all the new toys that now filled his room. "Papa," the little one said, touching Alex's cheek. "House?" "Yes, Leo," Alex replied, feeling his heart might burst with happiness. Our house, our home. The circle had finally completed. From strangers who once loved each other, to estranged parents, and now to a family united by love and truth. The life they had built together was more beautiful than any building they could design. The beautiful chaos of family. 2 years later, the sound of children's laughter filled the garden of the house in the hills. Leo, now 3, ran chasing bubbles, while his 1-year-old sister, Sophia, tried to follow him with wobbly steps. Chloe watched her children from the terrace, a cup of coffee in hand and a smile on her lips. It still seemed incredible how her life had changed in recent years, from being a single mother struggling to balance her career with parenting, to having a complete family and her own architectural studio that had gained national recognition for its sustainable designs. "What are you thinking about?" Alex asked, sitting beside her and putting an arm around her shoulders. "How lucky we are," she replied, leaning against him. "How we almost lost all of this." Alex gently kissed her forehead. "But we didn't lose it. That's what matters." The house they had designed together had become the center of their lives. Alex had transformed one of the rooms into an office from where he directed EcoBloom, now with operations in 6 countries. International trips were still part of his job, but never exceeded 4 days, and Chloe and the children accompanied him when possible. EcoBloom's headquarters in London, designed by Chloe, had been inaugurated the previous year, receiving multiple awards for its innovation and sustainability. The success of the project had propelled her career, allowing her to carefully select her projects to balance them with family life. "Mommy, look what I found," Leo shouted, running towards them with something in his small hands. "Careful, my love," Chloe warned as the child climbed the terrace steps. Leo opened his hands to reveal a small green frog. "It looks like the one from the story Dad reads me," he said excitedly. "It's true," Alex nodded, feigning amazement. "It must be a cousin of Freddie, the pond frog. Can I show her to Sophia?" "Of course, but then we have to let her go, okay? Her family must be looking for her." Leo nodded solemnly and returned to the garden, walking now with extreme care so as not to scare his treasure. "He's exactly like you when you focus on something," Chloe commented. "That same determined expression." "But he has your heart," Alex replied. "Always worried about others, always sharing." The doorbell interrupted their conversation. Seconds later, Emily and Mark, now officially engaged, appeared with a bottle of wine and cake. "We bring supplies for the family gathering," Emily announced, hugging her sister. Shortly after, Mr. Green and Eleanor arrived, who had become inseparable in recent years, sharing the joy of being grandparents and a friendship that many suspected was something more. As the adults prepared food and set the table on the terrace, the children played under the shade of the ancient oak. This centenary tree had become the silent guardian of their happiness, a witness to birthdays, anniversaries, and everyday moments that wove the history of their family. "Remember the first time we came to see this land?" Alex asked Chloe while pouring drinks. "How could I forget?" She smiled. "Leo could barely walk and fell in that giant puddle. We all ended up muddy. That's when I knew this would be our home," Alex confessed. "Seeing you covered in mud, laughing hysterically with Leo in your arms, you'd never looked more beautiful." Chloe kissed him softly, still amazed at how after all these years, Alex still looked at her as if she were the only woman in the world. The afternoon passed with conversations, laughter, and plans for the future. Emily and Mark announced that they had set a wedding date, inspired by Alex and Chloe's story. "If you two could overcome all that, we can handle anything," joked Mark, who had gone from being just Alex's lawyer to becoming a close friend, and soon, part of the family. When the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink, Alex took Sophia in his arms, while Chloe looked for Leo, who was playing with Sarah's children, newly arrived at the gathering. "It's bath time, champ," Chloe said, though she knew it would be a battle to convince him. To her surprise, Leo nodded without protesting. "Good. But can Dad tell the story of the millionaire and the mom who met at the airport?" Chloe and Alex exchanged a knowing look. It was Leo's favorite story, a childish and sweetened version of their own reunion, which Alex had turned into a special tale for his son. "Of course," Alex promised, with sound effects and everything. Later, after bathing the children and putting them to bed, Alex and Chloe returned to the terrace. Their guests had left, and the house was silent. The full moon illuminated the valley below them, and the lights of London twinkled in the distance. "Do you know what day it is today?" Alex asked, pouring 2 glasses of wine. "How could I forget?" Chloe replied. "It's exactly 2 years since we moved here, and 3.5 years since we reconnected at the airport. The worst and the best day of my life," Alex reflected. "Seeing you walk away with Leo in your arms, not knowing he was my son, and then discovering the truth." Chloe took his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if we hadn't met that day." "We would have met eventually," Alex replied with certainty. "Some people are meant to be together, no matter how many detours their paths take." They remained silent, enjoying the peace of the night and each other's closeness. In the children's room, the baby monitor transmitted the soft, rhythmic breathing of Leo and Sophia. "Remember what you told me that day at the airport?" Alex asked after a while. "I don't want anything to do with you," Chloe quoted, smiling at the irony. "The universe must have had a good laugh at me." "The universe knew what it was doing," Alex replied, pulling her closer. "Sometimes we need to lose something to truly understand its value." "And sometimes," Chloe added, looking towards the house they had built together, the home they had created. "What we lose comes back to us, stronger and more beautiful than before." In the distance, the lights of a plane crossed the night sky, reminding them where their story had begun. From a chance encounter at an airport to a complete family, from harsh words born of fear to promises of love fulfilled day by day. Life doesn't always follow the path we plan, but sometimes it takes us exactly where we're meant to be. What an incredible journey. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment and tell me what part resonated with you the most. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories, and I'll see you in the next video. Sources, video, deep research, Canvas.
The clock chimed 9:30 p.m. as Sophia tightened her black apron, attempting to brush off the fatigue that had settled into her feet after a long 10 hours. Le Chateau buzzed with its usual Friday crowd, the air rich with the aroma of truffles and red wine, as soft jazz melodies drifted through the ambience. Table 15, Sophia. Important executives, whispered Marcel, the maitre d' as he walked by. Be extra attentive, Sophia nodded, concealing her fatigue. The earnings from that night, including her salary and tips, ensured that Camilla, her 12-year-old sister, could continue attending private school for another month. Ever since the loss of their parents 3 years prior, Camilla had dedicated herself to the pursuit of a quality education. At table 15, Nicholas Carter led a business dinner alongside 4 other executives. His tailored Italian suit and watch, valued at more than a year's worth of Sophia's earnings, stood in stark contrast to the restaurant's deliberate simplicity. At 35, Nicholas had already established himself as one of New York's most successful businessmen, though his reputation as an unyielding workaholic was well known. Good evening, gentlemen. Might I recommend one of our esteemed wines to complement your dinner? Sophia kept her professional smile intact as she surveyed the group, 4 of them seemingly oblivious to her presence, engrossed in a conversation about mergers and acquisitions. However, Nicholas lifted his gaze from his phone for a brief moment, his brow furrowed as if something troubled him. The Chateau Margaux 2015, he stated, his tone taut, and sparkling water for all. Sophia moved gracefully from table to table, presenting exquisite dishes and attending to every request with care. From time to time, her eyes drifted back to table 15. Nicholas appeared more and more uneasy, subtly loosening his tie as his companions engaged in a lively discussion about figures and tactics. Across the room, Camilla conveyed a message. Sis, I need the chemistry book by Monday. Sophia sighed, running through her mental calculations. The book would take up half of her week's tips, but it was essential. As she tucked her phone away, she noticed Nicholas suddenly rising from his chair, his right hand pressed against his chest. His companions at the table kept conversing, misreading his unease as mere annoyance related to the negotiation. Yet Sophia was attuned to the subtle cues, the ashen complexion, the beads of sweat, the uneven breaths. Something felt amiss. The destinies of 2 contrasting individuals were on the brink of convergence on that seemingly mundane evening at Le Chateau. Unbeknownst to Sophia, her choice in the moments to come would alter not just Nicholas Carter's existence, but her own too. Sophia felt a surge of intuition before her thoughts could catch up. Nicholas's complexion had gone pale, and despite his tailored suit, the quiver in his hands was unmistakable. As his colleagues animatedly debated market shares, he faltered, clutching the table's edge for support. Excuse me, sir, but are you feeling well? Sophia moved swiftly, her tone soft yet resolute. The other executives finally halted their discussion, glancing up with a hint of irritation. I'm fine, Nicholas managed to say, though his voice barely rose above a whisper. Just need some air. The words hung in the air, unfinished. As his knees gave way, Sophia swiftly reached out, preventing him from crashing to the ground. The atmosphere in the restaurant shifted, filled with gasps and whispers, as she carefully helped him into a seated position. Someone call 911, she shouted, asserting her authority as the other executives remained paralyzed in their costly suits. And bring me some water. Marcel hurried over with a glass, his typical calmness disrupted. Should we move him? No, Sophia replied, recalling the first aid training she had received during her time at the daycare center. She gently eased Nicholas's tie and collar, her voice steady and soothing as she spoke to him. Mr. Carter, please remain by my side. Assistance is on the way. Focus on taking slow, steady breaths. Nicholas's gaze was fixed on hers, brimming with fear and uncertainty. I can't. Just breathe, he struggled to say. Concentrate on my voice, Sophia directed, grasping his hand. His pulse throbbed under her fingertips, a rapid rhythm that spoke volumes. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth like this, she illustrated, and he found it challenging to mimic her example. The paramedics arrived swiftly, though the wait felt interminable. As they attended to the situation, Sophia relayed the details of her observations with clarity. Meanwhile, the other diners were subtly relocated to various parts of the restaurant, yet many still leaned in, eager to witness the unfolding drama. "It appears to be a significant panic attack," one paramedic declared as they readied to take him away. "We'll take him in to ensure it's not cardiac-related." Nicholas's colleagues finally sprang into action, debating who should accompany him to the hospital. Amid the chaos, Nicholas grasped Sophia's hand one last time. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice raspy. Sophia clasped his hand softly, then took a step back to allow the experts to do their job. She observed as they transported him away, the restaurant's refined ambience irrevocably changed by the night's occurrences. Later that night, while tallying her tips and reflecting on Camilla's chemistry book, Sophia found it impossible to dismiss the haunting image of Nicholas's vulnerable expression. In that instant, he was no longer the formidable entrepreneur everyone recognized. He was simply a frightened individual in need of assistance. As she readied herself to depart, Marcel made her way over to her. "You managed that exceptionally, Sophia. Quite commendable." She shrugged, collecting her belongings. Anyone would have reacted similarly. Yet, they both understood that wasn't the case. Amidst a gathering of influential figures, she stood out as the sole individual capable of piercing through the veneer to identify someone in turmoil. The private hospital room enveloped Nicholas in a suffocating embrace, with the relentless beeping of monitors and the sharp, clinical aroma of disinfectant creating an atmosphere of confinement. He gazed intently at the initial test results displayed on his tablet. No heart attack, no stroke. Just a body that has finally reached its breaking point after enduring years of unyielding strain. Dr. Matthews reviewed his chart, noting an acute stress response that culminated in a severe panic attack. "Your body is conveying a distinct message, Mr. Carter. The lifestyle you are upholding is not sustainable." Nicholas scarcely registered the remainder of the doctor's discourse on stress management and work-life equilibrium. His thoughts wandered repeatedly to the restaurant, to that pivotal moment when chaos ensued. He had navigated fierce takeovers and high-stakes negotiations with ease, yet he had crumbled before his entire board of directors. His phone vibrated incessantly with messages from his assistant, board members, and business partners. Everyone was eager to find out when he would be back at work, treating his breakdown as merely a bothersome pause in their routines. "The waitress," he interjected abruptly, cutting off Dr. Matthews in the middle of his sentence. "The person who assisted me, what was her name?" "I couldn't say," the doctor responded. However, the paramedics noted in their report that a restaurant employee played a vital role in providing assistance and keeping you calm until their arrival. Nicholas shut his eyes, recalling her steady voice that guided his breathing, her hand clasping his. In his realm of calculated maneuvers and strategic connections, her sincere concern had been unexpected. His assistant, James, showed up later with a new suit and laptop. "The board is worried about the potential impact on the merger negotiations," he stated while preparing the computer. "The PR team is eager to strategize for any upcoming media coverage. First, let's get the name of the waitress who assisted me," Nicholas interjected. "The one from Le Chateau." James appeared taken aback but quickly jotted it down. "Naturally, should I organize some form of compensation? A thank you gift, maybe?" Nicholas nodded absent-mindedly, his thoughts already swirling with ideas. He had always approached challenges with financial solutions. It was pristine, straightforward, and routine in his existence. Yet there was an unusual quality to this moment. That night, isolated in his hospital room, he pondered the striking differences between his life and hers. As his colleagues remained paralyzed in their costly attire, she moved with unwavering resolve. There were no hidden agendas, no strategic considerations, only genuine compassion. The doctor's warnings regarding his unsustainable way of living reverberated in his thoughts. After years of numbness, Nicholas experienced an unfamiliar sensation. It transcended mere gratitude for the waitress. It was a deep, unsettling realization that a crucial element was absent from the meticulously crafted life he had built. As he succumbed to the embrace of sleep, her visage surfaced in his thoughts once more. Resolute, empathetic, and entirely free from the fabricated limitations of his social sphere. Though her name eluded him, he felt an urgent need to express his gratitude. Little did he understand that this seemingly straightforward wish would ignite a series of occurrences that would test the very foundations of his self-perception. A week following the incident, Sophia was attending to her regular tables when Marcel approached her, his expression filled with concern. "Sophia, Mr. Carter is here to see you. He's waiting in the private dining room." Sophia felt a knot in her stomach. The whispers from the restaurant hinted at his recovery, yet she was unprepared for his return. With a steadying breath, she adjusted her apron and made her way to the private room. Nicholas stood as she entered, looking impeccable in a navy suit that likely cost more than her yearly rent. The vulnerability she'd observed last week had vanished, replaced by his familiar commanding presence. "Miss," he paused, allowing her the opportunity to provide her name. Sophia Martinez." "Miss Martinez, I wanted to extend my heartfelt gratitude for your help last week." He reached into his jacket pocket, revealing an envelope. "Your swift judgment and kindness truly impacted the situation." Sophia looked at the envelope, yet she hesitated to reach for it. "I'm grateful for your gratitude, Mr. Carter, but I merely acted as anyone else would have." "Please," he urged, pushing the envelope closer. "Accept this as a symbol of my appreciation. It's the bare minimum I can offer." Sophia could feel her cheeks warm. "Mr. Carter, my assistance was not motivated by any expectation of reward. I would prefer to decline your offer of money." Nicholas frowned, evidently unaccustomed to having his kindness turned down. "I assure you it's no small sum, could make a real difference." "That's exactly why I can't accept it," Sophia interrupted, her voice steady yet gentle. "I refuse to be just another entry in your ledger. My assistance came from a place of genuine need, not a desire for recognition or reward." The weight of the ensuing silence was palpable. Nicholas gazed at her, a mix of bewilderment and a hint of intrigue flickering across his face. In his reality, every item held a value, and each deed came with a predictable outcome. Her rejection was a puzzle he couldn't solve. "I've offended you," he said at last. "No, you haven't, but perhaps you've overlooked that certain things in life don't require a price tag." Sophia offered a faint smile. "I'm pleased to hear you're on the mend, Mr. Carter. That's all the gratitude I require." Before he could say anything, she turned and exited the private room, her heart racing. Once back in the main dining area, she continued with her tasks, attempting to suppress the shaking in her hands. Later, Marcel came over to her. "Everything all right?" "Yes," Sophia responded, preoccupied with polishing wine glasses. "Just a matter of viewpoint." As she continued through her shift, the memory of Nicholas's confused expression lingered in her mind. She had likely just declined an amount of money that would take years to earn back, enough to cover Camilla's entire education. Yet, something deep within her resisted the idea of turning that moment of authentic human connection into a mere business transaction. Unbeknownst to her, this refusal achieved something that no merger, acquisition, or business deal had ever accomplished. Nicholas Carter found himself reevaluating his entire perspective on human connections. Seated in his penthouse office, he gazed at the unexamined financial reports cluttering his desk. It had been 2 weeks since Sophia Martinez had turned down his offer of gratitude, and her words resonated in his thoughts. Not everything in life comes with a price tag. "Sir?" James stepped in with the morning briefing. "The board is eager for your decision regarding the Thompson merger." "What did you discover about her?" Nicholas inquired, brushing aside the reference to the merger. James paused, then turned to his tablet. "Sophia Martinez, 26, is employed full-time at Le Chateau and resides in Queens with her younger sister. 3 years have passed since the tragic loss of her parents in a car accident. Now, She finds herself as her sister's legal guardian, grappling with the burden of private school fees. But that thought was too much to bear. Nicholas rose suddenly, striding toward the expansive windows that reached from floor to ceiling. The city lay beneath him, a labyrinth of opportunities and links. She's facing financial struggles yet turned down my offer of help. Why is that? People hold varying principles, sir, James responded thoughtfully. It might be wise to honor her desires and let go. However, letting go was not Nicholas's strong suit. In his realm, challenges were addressed with calculated moves and monetary influence. Sophia's rejection was an equation he couldn't balance, a puzzle he couldn't solve. He found himself driving past Le Chateau during her shifts, observing her interact with customers through the windows. She moved with quiet confidence, genuine smiles, and an authenticity that felt almost foreign in his world of calculated gestures. One evening, he caught the conversation of two board members while they dined at Le Chateau. "That's the waitress who assisted Carter during his incident," one of them murmured. "I heard she rejected his money. She must be strategizing for the long haul." "Everyone has a price," the other replied. "She's probably holding out for more." An unexpected surge of anger welled up within Nicholas. They were diminishing her to their standard, incapable of understanding true kindness devoid of hidden agendas. Back in his office, he gazed at the envelope of cash still resting in his desk drawer, the identical sum he had attempted to offer her weeks prior. "James," he summoned through the intercom. "Could you organize something?" James inquired with a hint of fatigue, suggesting yet another way to express gratitude to Miss Martinez. No, he clarified, something unique this time. Discover her sister's school and arrange for an anonymous donation to fund a full scholarship, utilizing one of our charitable foundations. "Sir," James hesitated, "if I may, wouldn't that contradict her clear wishes?" Nicholas paused, recalling the fierce pride in Sophia's eyes when she had turned down his money. But this situation was different, wasn't it? This way, she wouldn't realize it was from him. He had the ability to address her issues while upholding her values. "Do it," he commanded, "ensuring that it remains untraceable to me." As James departed to finalize the plans, Nicholas turned back to the window. Below, the city lights shimmered like distant stars, yet his mind was solely occupied with Sophia's expression, picturing her response if she were to uncover his actions. For the first time, he found himself aiding someone who had clearly requested not to be assisted, and this paradox both unsettled and fascinated him. Sophia gazed at the letter from Camilla's school, her disbelief palpable. An anonymous benefactor had created a scholarship fund, and Camilla was chosen as the inaugural recipient, with full tuition, books, and expenses covered until graduation. It took her less than a day to piece everything together. That evening, she strode into the lobby of Carter Industries, her waitress uniform swapped for jeans and a resolute look. The security guard attempted to halt her progress, yet she was already making her way to the elevators. "Miss Martinez," James confronted her on the executive floor. "Mr. Carter is currently in a meeting." Sophia strode past him into Nicholas's office, where he was seated, engrossed in reviewing documents. Nicholas glanced up, a look of genuine surprise flickering across his face. "Sophia, did you really believe I wouldn't uncover the truth?" She slammed the scholarship letter onto his desk. "This has your name all over it. I have no idea what you're referring to." Yet, his expression remained somewhat flawed. "I already made it clear that I had no interest in your money." Sophia's voice quivered with fury. "Was I not clear enough? Or do you simply take pleasure in disregarding others' wishes when they conflict with your own agenda? Did you believe I wouldn't catch on?" She forcefully placed the scholarship letter on his desk. "This has your name all over it. I was only trying to assist. No, you were attempting to take charge of the situation." She let out a sigh, running a hand through her hair. "But I can't back out of this, Nicholas. It's not about me. It's about Camilla. She deserves better than to endure the consequences of my pride." Nicholas locked eyes with her, allowing her to hold his gaze. "No strings attached. You will never be in my debt." Sophia paused, then gave a hesitant nod. "Very well. But this is the final moment you decide my fate without my input. Your sister deserves a quality education. Don't you even think of using Camilla as an excuse for this, Sophia retorted. We were handling everything perfectly well before you chose to step in as the hero. Nicholas ran a hand through his hair, his frustration clear. Why is it so difficult for you to embrace assistance? Why is it so challenging for you to acknowledge that not every problem can be resolved with your wealth? Sophia responded. She inhaled deeply, attempting to steady her emotions. Cancel the scholarship. We have no desire for it. As she began to exit, Nicholas shouted, Hold on. She halted at the threshold, refraining from looking back. What if I proposed a job instead? Now she turned, her eyes narrowing. What? A genuine position. As my personal assistant. James is getting a promotion, and I require someone who is bold enough to express their thoughts. Sophia paused, her stomach knotting at the idea. I'm not seeking charity. Neither am I. With James transitioning to a new role, I require someone who can manage this position. I wouldn't extend this opportunity to you if I didn't believe in your abilities. She folded her arms, observing him intently. And this is unrelated to what transpired? If it were, I'd be presenting you with a blank check, not a contract. Sophia scrutinized him for an extended moment. I'll think about it, she said at last, leaving him in his office, pondering why her answer felt more like a triumph than any deal he had ever sealed. The job offer lingered in Sophia's mind for days. Each time she served plates at Le Chateau, Nicholas's proposal echoed in her thoughts. The salary he had mentioned would resolve all her financial issues, and the benefits package included health insurance, which she urgently required for Camilla. You're insane if you don't accept it, her friend Maria said during their break. Do you realize how many people would jump at that opportunity? That's precisely why it doesn't add up, Sophia responded. He could bring on anyone with real expertise. So why choose me? Yet she understood the reason. She was the only one who had ever turned him down, who recognized his efforts to fix everything with cash. The inquiry was whether she could be employed by someone of that nature. The response emerged when Camilla fell ill. It wasn't anything grave, merely a fever and a sore throat. However, the doctor's bill depleted their emergency savings. The following morning, Sophia found herself once more in Nicholas's office. I have conditions, she declared, cutting straight to the chase. Nicholas glanced up from his computer, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. I'm all ears. This is purely business. No more undisclosed contributions or efforts to assist me without my knowledge. I fulfill my duties for my compensation, nothing beyond that. Understood. I will maintain my evening shifts at Le Chateau until my successor is adequately trained. I won't leave them short-staffed, Nicholas nodded. That seemed reasonable. Most importantly, Sophia met his gaze directly. You regard me as just another member of the team, not as a project in need of rescue. Is that it? Nicholas inquired, his face betraying nothing. For the moment, he rose and offered his hand. Welcome to Carter Industries, Miss Martinez. Sophia grasped his hand firmly, attempting to dismiss the subtle tingle that coursed up her arm at his touch. When do I begin? Tomorrow, 8 a.m. on the dot. James will guide you through the essentials before he transitions to his new role. As Sophia exited the office, she experienced a sensation akin to leaping off a cliff, uncertain whether her parachute would deploy. However, upon calling Camilla to relay the news, her sister's enthusiasm sparked a glimmer of hope that perhaps, just perhaps, she had made the right decision. Unbeknownst to her, Nicholas was already adjusting his schedule to personally manage her training, convincing himself it was merely to facilitate a seamless transition. Neither of them understood that they had just embarked on a journey that would alter the course of their lives indefinitely. 2 weeks into her new position, Sophia found that her experience working for Nicholas Carter was both precisely what she had anticipated and entirely different from her expectations. He was exacting, detail-oriented, and at times, infuriatingly obsessed with perfection. He possessed brilliance, fairness, and at times, a surprising sense of humor. The Thompson file is color-coded incorrectly, he remarked one morning. handing back a pile of papers to her desk. "The files are organized precisely as you asked," Sophia countered, standing her ground. "Blue for pending, red for urgent, yellow for completed. I find red more suitable for pending. It just feels more intuitive." "More intuitive than red signifying urgent?" "That's literally the universal meaning of red, Mr. Carter." Their gazes clashed in a quiet struggle for dominance. To her astonishment, Nicholas's lips curled slightly, hinting at a smile. "Very well. Maintain your approach, but the Johnson meeting must be moved to a later date." These minor triumphs and setbacks defined their daily interactions. Sophia developed an instinct for his requirements while firmly asserting herself when the situation called for it. Nicholas discovered himself genuinely considering her ideas, a revelation that astonished his colleagues. The tension between them intensified in surprising ways. Occasionally, their fingers would graze as she passed him documents, igniting an electric spark between them. At other times, they would labor late into the night, and the typical boss-employee dynamic would fade, uncovering fleeting glimpses of the individuals hidden behind their professional facades. "You haven't taken a break in hours," Sophia said one night, placing a cup of coffee on his desk. "Neither have you," he replied, looking up at her with weary eyes. "Yes, but I'm not the one who had a stress-induced collapse recently." His expression softened. "You're never going to let me forget that, are you? Not as long as you keep pushing yourself like this." Their eyes met again, but this time the tension was different, warmer, more thrilling. Nicholas cleared his throat. "You should go home. It's late." "So should you," came the reply, yet neither made a move to leave. The city lights shimmered outside the windows, and for a fleeting instant, the distance between their worlds appeared to diminish. At last, Sophia withdrew, shattering the enchantment. "Good night, Mr. Carter. Good night, Miss Martinez." As she collected her belongings to depart, both of them feigned ignorance to the fact that their seemingly simple farewell had taken on a weighty significance. The professional lines they had meticulously drawn were starting to fade, and neither was certain how to halt the progression, or if they even desired to. The annual Carter Industries Gala unfolded as a sophisticated black tie event at the Plaza Hotel. Sophia dedicated her evening to coordinating with vendors, managing guest lists, and ensuring the seamless flow of the event. She donned a simple black dress, striking a balance between elegance and professionalism, fitting for her position as executive assistant. Nicholas navigated the bustling crowd in his tuxedo, effortlessly charming investors and sealing deals with a practiced finesse. Yet, his gaze repeatedly drifted to Sophia across the room, where she adeptly managed one crisis after another. As midnight approached, and with most guests having departed and the cleaning crew beginning their tasks, Sophia discovered Nicholas on the hotel's terrace, his bow tie loosened and a glass of scotch in hand. "Everything's wrapped up," she informed him, maintaining her professionalism even at this late hour. "The final numbers appear promising for the charity auction." "Thank you," he said softly, then continued. "Would you care for a drink?" She paused, contemplating. This was not their typical domain. "Just one," he remarked. "You've deserved it." Sophia accepted a glass of wine, keeping a measured distance as she leaned against the terrace railing. The city unfolded before them, a rich tapestry of lights and shadows. "My mother left when I was 8, Nicholas said abruptly, his gaze fixed on his glass. "She simply packed her bags and vanished. My father immersed himself in work following that. Does this resonate?" Sophia remained quiet, aware that this wasn't the refined businessman she usually encountered, but the fragile man she'd caught a glimpse of that evening at the restaurant. "That's why I put in so much effort," he continued. "If you achieve enough success and wield enough power, people tend to stick around." "That's not the way it goes," Sophia replied gently. "No?" He turned to look at her, his gaze piercing. "Then how does it work, Sophia?" The use of her first name sent a tremor through her. "People leave or stay driven by love, not achievement. It's beyond the reach of wealth or influence. Just as you wouldn't allow me to manipulate you with riches." Precisely. They found themselves standing closer, though neither could recall how they got there. The night air was cool, Yet Sophia felt an unexpected warmth enveloping her. "What if I can't do anything else?" Nicholas murmured. "You learn," she responded, her heart racing. "You take chances." His kiss silenced her words. It began softly, with a sense of inquiry, but swiftly transformed into something more pressing, more authentic than anything they had experienced previously. In that fleeting moment, all their meticulously built defenses crumbled. But then, reality surged back, and Sophia withdrew, her hands trembling. "I can't," she whispered. "We can't." With that, she fled the terrace, leaving Nicholas alone with his untouched scotch and the heavy burden of their recent actions. Monday morning dawned, heavy with unexpressed thoughts. Sophia positioned herself at her desk, fingers dancing over the keyboard with a robotic rhythm, all the while acutely conscious of Nicholas's proximity behind his closed office door. The kiss lingered in the air, creating an unseen barrier between them. As he stepped out of his office around noon, the atmosphere between them was strikingly stiff. "The quarterly reports are on your desk," she stated, avoiding his gaze. "Thank you, Miss Martinez," he replied. The reversion to last names seemed like a regression, yet neither was certain how to close the divide. Their once effortless exchanges had disappeared, supplanted by awkward formalities. In a meeting later that day, their hands accidentally touched as Sophia handed him a folder. The surge of energy lingered, more intense than before. Nicholas let the folder slip from his grasp, sending papers flying across the conference room floor. "I've got it!" they both exclaimed in unison, bending down to collect the scattered documents. In the solitude of the conference room, the atmosphere thickened with unease. Nicholas began to speak about the other night, but Sophia cut him off, rising abruptly. "We should just forget it happened. It was a mistake." "Was it?" His question lingered, heavy and unresolved. Sophia held the gathered papers tightly against her chest, as if they could protect her from the uncertainty that surrounded them. "I am here for you," she stated with conviction. "That is the extent of this relationship. You have never been merely an employee in my eyes. Perhaps I should reconsider my role as an employee entirely." The impact of her potential departure struck him with the force of a tangible blow. "Please don't," he urged, extending his hand toward her arm. With a gentle caress, his hand on her skin shattered her defenses. She pivoted to meet his gaze, and in an instant, their lips collided once more, fueled by a deeper urgency than ever. Papers lay strewn about their feet as Nicholas drew her nearer, one hand weaving through her hair while the other held her waist firmly. For a fleeting moment, Sophia surrendered to the kiss, but then reality surged back. She pushed him away, gasping for breath. "This is precisely why this cannot occur," she stated, her voice trembling. "I refuse to be yet another conquest, another issue you can resolve with wealth and influence. This is not what this is about, isn't it?" She met his eyes. "Can you truly claim to discern the difference anymore?" When he failed to respond, she collected the scattered papers one final time and exited the conference room, leaving Nicholas to grapple with the unsettling truth that, for the first time in his life, he couldn't mend something merely by wishing it so. In the week following the incident in the conference room, Nicholas immersed himself in his work. He arranged consecutive meetings, answered calls during lunch, and lingered at the office each night, all to escape the solitude of his thoughts or the presence of Sophia. She was impeccably professional, always one step ahead in meeting his needs and organizing his agenda with precision. Yet the warmth had vanished from her tone, supplanted by a meticulously upheld detachment that stung more than any anger could. One late evening, James made his way to his office. "You're really screwing this up," his former assistant stated matter-of-factly. Nicholas glanced away from his screen. "I have no idea what you mean. Sophia, your approach to the situation is quite perplexing. Or should I say, your lack of approach. It seems there's really nothing to address. Her stance is unmistakable." James took a seat without an invitation. "You know, throughout all the years I've been in your service, I've never witnessed you show fear towards anything." "I'm not afraid," Nicholas snapped. "Really? Then why are you hiding in your office instead of talking to her?" He stood and walked to the window, his typical escape when feeling uneasy. The city lights blurred before his eyes. She believes I'm attempting to dominate her, he finally admitted, as I do with everything else. Are you? I'm not sure, he murmured, pressing his forehead against the cool glass. Whenever I get near to someone, they always depart. My mother, my father, and even my ex-fiancé each have their own perspectives. When it comes to business, however, I understand the game. I know the strategies for success. And that's the issue, James remarked softly. You're approaching this as if it's a deal you must conquer, rather than a connection that requires care. I'm not sure how to navigate that, Nicholas confessed. Indeed, you do. I've observed the way you are with her when you let go of being Nicholas Carter, CEO, and simply embrace being Nicholas. The words resonated deeply. Nicholas recalled the evening of the gala, how effortlessly he had shared his feelings with Sophia regarding his mother, how, for that moment, he had set aside thoughts of control, power, and victory. She deserves more than what I can provide, he murmured gently. That should be her decision to make, James said, rising to depart. But first, you must summon the courage to present it. Once James had gone, Nicholas lingered at the window, observing the bustling city beneath him. For the first time in his life, all his wealth and power felt futile against the true desires that stirred within him, and the potential loss that loomed, stemming from his own fear of pursuing it. Sophia sat opposite Nicholas's vacant desk, putting the finishing touches on her resignation letter. 2 weeks had slipped by since their last kiss, and the tension had grown increasingly unbearable. Each exchanged look, each unintentional brush of skin served as a poignant reminder of the impossibility of their situation. What was that? She startled at Nicholas's voice. He lingered in the doorway, appearing weary and hesitant, a stark contrast to his typical assured demeanor. Her resignation, she murmured, as she slid the paper across his desk. He left it untouched. Why? You already know why. Go ahead and say it. Sophia rose, summoning her bravery. I can't continue like this, in this half-hearted connection where we act as if we're unaffected while suffering within. I won't accept anything less than the whole truth, Nicholas. What do you truly seek from me? His voice was tight with tension. I want you to be sincere, both with yourself and with me. Text. I want you to stop concealing yourself behind your barriers, your wealth, and your influence. Do you believe it's that straightforward? No, she moved nearer. I believe it's the most challenging thing in existence. Yet that's the essence of love. Embracing the uncertainty despite the fear, Nicholas recoiled at the mention of love. The last individual who professed their love departed without a word of farewell. I'm not your mother, Sophia murmured gently. No, you're worse, he confessed. You're the first person since her that I truly want to remain with. The rawness in his voice caused her heart to ache. Then request it from me. Can't, he looked away. I don't know how to become what you desire. I only ask for your honesty. Yet you can't even provide me with that. Sophia took her resignation letter and placed it firmly in his hand. Their fingers grazed each other for the final time. I hope one day you understand that love isn't about possession or certainty, she remarked. It's about trust. Until you find the courage to believe in something beyond your grasp, you won't be prepared for genuine love. She approached the door, then hesitated. Just so you know, I had no intention of departing without a farewell. Nicholas stood still, clutching her resignation letter, as the first person he had genuinely cared for in years turned to leave. It wasn't that she didn't care. It was that he couldn't allow himself to care deeply. The silence she created felt more deafening than any business deal he had ever finalized, any triumph he had ever achieved. For the first time, winning felt exactly like losing. The first week without Sophia felt like living in grayscale. Nicholas went through the motions, meetings, calls, decisions, but everything seemed hollow. His new assistant was undeniably capable, yet their exchanges lacked any sense of warmth, devoid of challenges to his decisions or shared glances during his more unreasonable moments. He caught himself gazing at her vacant desk, reminiscing about their discussions, their debates, and the way she'd express her exasperation when he was particularly obstinate. The office seemed to have lost its warmth, as if she had carried it away with her departure. "The board meeting is in 10 minutes, sir," his new assistant announced, with a demeanor that was impeccably professional yet entirely unremarkable. Nicholas nodded, collecting his papers. He lingered for a moment at Sophia's former desk, now stripped of the family photos and small plants she had once tended there. The color-coded filing system remained intact. He couldn't bring himself to revert to his preferred method. During the board meeting, he found himself glancing to his left, where Sophia would typically be seated, poised with any document he required before he even asked. The vacant chair loomed like a silent reproach. "Are you paying attention, Nicholas?" one of the board members inquired. Naturally, he fibbed, redirecting his focus to the slides detailing quarterly projections. Later that evening, he drove past Le Chateau, fully aware she wouldn't be there. She had left that job as well, prepared for a total fresh start. Through the windows, he observed the new waitstaff navigating the tables, none of them exuding her quiet dignity. Back in his penthouse, he poured himself a scotch and made his way to the window, his typical sanctuary. Yet, instead of the solace it usually provided, the city lights merely evoked memories of that night on the terrace, their first kiss, and all the words he had left unspoken. His phone buzzed, signaling yet another business emergency that demanded his immediate focus. In the past, he would have eagerly embraced the distraction, immersing himself in work until all other feelings faded away. Now, however, he simply felt weary. He reflected on the last occasion he genuinely engaged with another person, not merely in a transactional sense but in the fabric of everyday existence. A week later, he found himself in a therapist's office, gazing at the ceiling. "I don't know why I'm here," he confessed. "Then let's work through this together," the therapist responded. That evening, he took a pen in hand and started to compose. "Dear Sophia, you were correct. Concerning all aspects. Regarding my concealment behind wealth and influence. Regarding my fears. On the subject of love demanding belief." He ceased to crumple the paper. Articulating his thoughts had never been his forte. He was a man of action, yet now, for the first time, he found himself paralyzed by uncertainty. The silence that enveloped his empty penthouse resonated with an intensity he had never experienced before. Nicholas gazed at his computer screen, absorbing the email for the third time. It was from James, who remained in contact with Sophia. She and Camilla are relocating to Boston next week. Sophia has secured a scholarship to complete her degree at Boston University. Just thought you might want to be informed. Boston. The word struck him with the force of a physical blow. He had been aware of her plans to leave New York, but learning the exact date rendered it real in a way that churned his stomach. Instinctively, he began searching for train schedules to Boston. He paused, caught in a moment of uncertainty. What could he possibly articulate? Weeks had slipped by, each attempt to express himself falling short. As he exited the office that evening, his new assistant approached him, presenting a small package. "This was left at reception for you, Mr. Carter." Inside, there was a book titled The Little Princeman, accompanied by a note nestled between its pages. "I stumbled upon this while packing. Do you recall our conversation about it during that late night at the office? You mentioned you'd never read it. Perhaps now is the perfect moment. S." Nicholas opened the book to the page where the note had been tucked away and read, "One sees clearly only with the heart. The essential is invisible to the eyes." His hands trembled as he shut the book. Even now, she was attempting to impart lessons on love and trust. He dialed James. "What time does her train arrive?" "Friday at 2 p.m. from Penn Station." "Nicholas, if you're planning to leave..." "I understand." He cut in. "I must have certainty." The following 2 days flew by in a whirlwind of discussions and choices, yet none revolved around commerce. For the first time, Nicholas Carter found himself orchestrating something that eluded the grasp of wealth or influence. As Friday arrived, he found himself at Penn Station, surveying the throngs of people. He noticed her by the departures board, Sophia and Camilla, encircled by a cluster of suitcases and boxes. His heart raced as he observed them. Sophia was examining their tickets, while Camilla bounced with enthusiasm, likely chattering about their upcoming adventure in Boston. Nicholas stepped forward, then hesitated. The train announcement reverberated through the station. This was his moment, his final opportunity to demonstrate that he could transcend his fears, break down his barriers, and rise above his desire for control. As he observed Sophia envelop her anxious sister in a warm embrace, it dawned on him that this situation extended beyond his own concerns. It encompassed her aspirations as well, her future, her opportunity for a fresh start. The real question was, did he possess the bravery to be included in that future? Sophia. His voice echoed through the station, making her halt in her tracks. Camilla was the first to notice him, pulling at her sister's sleeve and gesturing. Nicholas approached them, his typical assured gait giving way to a more uncertain one. This time, he wasn't clad in a suit. Instead, he wore jeans and a sweater that rendered him more relatable, more exposed. "What are you doing here?" Sophia asked as he approached them. "I read the book," he replied, pulling the little prince from his jacket. "You were right." Once more, Sophia's expression softened a bit. What was it this time? Everything. It was about perceiving with the heart. Contemplating the essence of risk, he inhaled deeply, reflecting on how love demands a leap of faith. The station announcer repeated the call for their train, just 5 minutes until departure. "Nicholas, I'm not here to hold you back," he interjected. "You've earned this opportunity. You deserve it all. Yet, there's something I must share before you leave." Camilla observed them with wide eyes, gripping her backpack tightly. "I'm scared," Nicholas confessed. "Scared of feeling this deeply. Scared of losing you. Fear grips me, the fear of inadequacy. Yet, an even greater fear looms, losing you without expressing my love." Sophia's breath hitched. Amidst the bustling crowd, travelers hurried by. Yet, it felt as if they were the only ones in the station. "Love isn't enough," she murmured gently. "You showed me that. It's not the end, but it's a beginning. I'm eager to discover more." He moved in closer. "I'm not here to control you, Sophia. My aim is to be your support. I wish to witness you reach your aspirations. I desire to be included in your journey. If you permit me, how might that unfold? I'm relocating to Boston. Boston boasts its airports. I possess a jet. Yet what truly matters," he retrieved a folded paper from his pocket. "Boston is home to law firms seeking CEOs to manage their merger acquisitions." Sophia's eyes widened as she grasped the implication of his words. "You would relocate your business. I would change everything for you, for our future together." He presented her with the document. A lease agreement for an office space in Boston, but only if you desire it. The final boarding call resonated throughout the station. "We must leave," Camilla urged, her voice tinged with urgency. Sophia turned her gaze to Nicholas, truly seeing him for the first time. Gone was the domineering CEO, supplanted by a man ready to gamble it all for love. "Are you certain?" she whispered. Nicholas smiled, and for the first time, his eyes held no hint of fear. "All I know for certain is you." Sophia lingered on the train platform, gripping her ticket in one hand and Nicholas's lease agreement in the other. The final boarding call echoed above her. "Marna," Camilla pulled at her sleeve, "we're gonna miss the train." Sophia glanced at her sister, then turned to Nicholas. "This isn't a fairy tale," she remarked. "Relocating your enterprise, transforming your existence, it won't solve all problems." "I understand," he responded, "but I'm not aiming to solve anything. I'm selecting you just as you are. I'm making the choice to improve myself, not out of obligation, but because my love for you inspires me to grow." The train conductor announced the final call for boarding. Camilla shifted nervously between them. "If I stay," Sophia said thoughtfully, "I need to be sure you won't try to take charge of everything. My education, my career, my decisions, they have to belong to me. I promise." Nicholas extended his hand toward hers. "But I have one condition as well," he said, prompting her to raise an eyebrow in curiosity. "What's that?" "Halt your pace. When challenges arise, and they certainly will, stand your ground and battle alongside me." No more backing down, no more farewells. Sophia sensed tears beginning to form in her eyes. That's quite a promise. So is relocating a multi-billion-dollar company to Boston, he grinned. Yet certain moments demand a leap of faith. Camilla took a deep breath, her voice rising with anticipation. Everyone, the train? Sophia glanced at her ticket one final time, then deliberately ripped it in two. We're not heading to Boston today, Cammy. We're not. No. Sophia glanced over at Nicholas. We will require some time to search for an apartment, explore schools, and handle everything appropriately. His expression brightened with comprehension. She was not merely visiting. She was deciding to create something genuine with him, each step taken with intention. I might have a great real estate agent in mind, he said, drawing her nearer. Naturally, you do. She chuckled softly against his chest. Just make me one promise. Anything at all. No more hidden contributions or unexpected grants. Nicholas pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Promise. From this moment forward, we will confront all challenges side by side. No easy paths, no attempts to resolve issues with wealth. As they observed the train departing from the station, Camilla grasped both their hands tightly. Does this mean I get to redecorate my new room? Sophia and Nicholas exchanged glances, both understanding that this was merely the start. Challenges lay ahead, adjustments awaited, trust needed to be cultivated. Yet, for the first time, they were confronting it all side by side, not as a commanding CEO and his former assistant, but as two individuals who had finally grasped that love transcended control and fear, revolving around the choice to embrace one another each day. Half a year later, Sophia found herself in her new office at Boston University, enveloped by textbooks and study materials. The business administration course presented its challenges, yet she was flourishing. Outside the window, the fall leaves adorned the campus in vibrant hues of red and gold. Her phone vibrated with a message from Nicholas. Dinner at Le Petit Bistro tonight? Camilla's debate team clinched first place. Sophia grinned, replying that she wouldn't miss it. Filled with pride for our girl. The term "our" had finally settled comfortably. In recent months, Nicholas had woven himself into the fabric of Camilla's life just as seamlessly as Sophia had. He participated in school events, assisted with homework, and never resorted to using his checkbook to address their issues. The transition was not without its challenges. There were disputes over boundaries, instances of insecurity, and the rare confrontation of their dominant personalities. They confronted each challenge side by side, emerging more resilient with every conflict they overcame. Nicholas honored his commitment regarding the Boston office, although he divided his time between there and New York. The distance posed its difficulties, yet it allowed them the freedom to nurture their individuality while deepening their bond. Later that evening, as they toasted to Camilla's triumph at the quaint French bistro, Sophia observed Nicholas chuckling at her sister's lively tales. He had undone his tie, rolled up his sleeves, and appeared more at ease than she had ever witnessed him in New York. Do you remember our first dinner together? He inquired softly, while Camilla was preoccupied with her dessert. You mean that time you collapsed and I saved you? Sophia teased. Best panic attack I ever experienced. He reached for her hand across the table. While I enjoy our dinners these days, even with a talkative teenager, particularly with a talkative teenager. His thumb gently traced circles on her palm. Are you trying to make me feel like I have a real family? She asked. You do have a real family, Sophia replied gently. One that chose you back. Nicholas squeezed her hand, and in his eyes, Sophia noticed none of the controlled, fearful man she had initially encountered. Instead, she perceived an individual who understood that genuine strength was rooted not in wealth or authority, but in the bravery to show vulnerability to those dear to you. Thus, Camilla interjected, regarding that spring break trip we talked about. Sophia and Nicholas shared meaningful glances. They were on a journey of discovery, evolving, and navigating the intricate dance of merging their lives and emotions. Yet, they faced it together, taking it one day at a time, and that truly changed everything. Dear audience, I trust that Nicholas and Sophia's journey resonated with you as deeply as it did with me. Their tale illustrates that genuine love isn't defined by extravagant displays or wealth, but by the bravery to be open and the resolve to select one another daily. If you felt a connection to their journey, from a serendipitous meeting at Le Chateau to creating a genuine family, please give this video a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs a reminder that love is a worthwhile gamble. I'm eager to hear your reflections on their narrative in the comments below. What stood out to you the most? Did you resonate with Sophia's resolve or Nicholas's path to conquering his fears? Be sure to subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt love stories like this one. I'm intrigued to know which country are you tuning in from. Share your location in the comments below.